Also, adding on to Anna said about the bus, it doesn't run 24 hours. It stops at 10:40. So one thing I would love to change is I wish it was 24 hours.
Yeah.
And another thing I love about living in Ulsan is there are two downtowns, one old and one new. And I prefer the old one. It's just more lively and there's a lot of character going on there.
I agree with both Azet and Martin. You can have a different experience of Ulsan depending on where you live and who you socialize with, and yeah, it's quite easy getting around though. But definitely, if the buses ran longer, it would help. But if you live, I mean, cabs are quite cheap, so.
Yeah, the cabs are awesome. Like, I mean, even if you only have certain buses that come to your area, you can find a cab like pretty much anywhere. And another thing about Ulsan, like based on like what you like to be involved in, like I've been up to Seoul a lot of times, and like I always see like posters and stuff for like if you're into like big concerts or like if you're into like certain hobbies. Sometimes, at least for me, I'm so used to being involved in a lot of things back at home. But for me here, it's been kind of a disadvantage, like not being able to take part in some of the things that I'm used to, or have certain hobbies accessible to me, like maybe going to certain plays or going to different types of cultural things or discussions, those kinds of things that I like. So I've kind of had to adjust, and I really do miss certain things like that that aren't here in Ulsan, because it's a different place, a different culture. So it has its ups and downs, but I'm happy to be here.
And also, Ulsan's not that big, so it's easy to get around. Like, we're closer to two other bigger cities, Daegu and Busan, so it's pretty nice to go there during the summer.
I find a lot of people who live in Ulsan, I don't know about teachers in other cities as well, like we like to travel out of Ulsan on the weekends because we run out of things to do. So.
Yeah. And we do have the KTX station, luckily, so if you need to get to Seoul or Busan or Daegu, but yeah, the public transportation is awesome. Not just Ulsan, but in Korea in general, you can get the high-speed train, or you can get the regular trains, or you can get the inner city buses, so there's always a way to get to another city in some shape or form.
For me in high school, we started at 8:30, and then we have like 9 periods for our classes. Usually our classes would end at around 6 o'clock. And then for that, we had a special dormitory in my old high school. So my students would usually eat dinner there from 6:30 to 7:30. And then from 7:30 to 10 o'clock is our after school classes. So I would be teaching up to 10 o'clock. There's like 2 hours for conversation classes. After that, like 10:30 to 11:45, we have special dormitory classes. So I would be doing another conversation class with different kinds of students. So I had a pretty long day. So if you're in high school, expect to be teaching up to 10 o'clock for after school classes. The latest you should get out by is usually 9:30, but I had a special key, so it's at 12.
Midnight? Oh my god.
And I had to walk back home too.
Oh my god.
It's very late. There's the difference with high school and middle school. Longer hours and more studying.
It's an all-girls school, so I'll speak to that. We have 7 classes. Usually you teach between 5 to 4 classes, regular classes a day, and then you have an after-school conversation class where you're the only teacher in the room, which can be challenging because the students kind of want to coast, and they usually take English conversation because they don't want to take any of the other classes, and they think it will be an easy class to do. But I mean, if you do come up with cool activities, they can get quite motivated. Apart from that, you could prepare to either have students or not have students. Some, especially just before exams, teachers will want to keep their students with them to revise because conversation classes waste time. But it's pretty chilled. It's pretty chilled, I think, but it helps to be well prepared for your lessons, because if the students start getting restless, you must either have a plan B or still have a way to keep them engaged. So you have these girls with a whole lot of energy, some fall asleep. Worst classes are just before lunch and after lunch. Yeah, they're either sleepy or hungry. And in the morning as well, yes, because they're really sleepy and tired. I think first graders are the most enthusiastic, and second graders are really blasé about everything. Third graders I don't teach, but they're generally, when I have them in my conversation class, they seem excited.
I know you teach at 2 different elementary schools.
Actually, 3.
Oh my
So
god.
the third school is like a branch off of the second school, so they kind of consider it to be both schools are the same. But a typical day, class first period starts at about 9:10, and the class periods are about 40 minutes long. And usually, we teach, from the textbook for the morning classes, and the morning classes are 4 periods before lunch. Lunch is at about 12:20, and then after lunch we start the after school class time, which is the first period, well, basically the fifth school period, which is after lunch about 1:20. And then those are the after school classes. So usually the students, it can vary the size of it. Example, I have a third, fourth grade class, and there are 10 students in that class. But for my fourth grade after school, I teach only 3 students out of that fourth grade homeroom class. And my school is really small in itself. It's like very small. And that can vary in Korea where you're placed at. Your schools can be really big, or they can be very kind of semi-rural like where I'm at. But the after school classes are taught, and they can either be taught usually with the textbook, or in my case, because I have not just third and fourth grade, but I teach first up to fifth grade for after school classes. So typically I tend to stay away from the textbook when I have first, second, and third grade, because of their age level when you're with elementary, and because of the language barrier that's there. You have to be more creative, and it sometimes feels like we're working like extra hard, because like another teacher said, we have to sort of try to command more respect, because the students don't show us the same type of respect that they show their Korean teachers, because they don't really know us. They already know what to expect from their Korean teachers, but from us, like, we have to do a little bit more to keep them, behave, and to sort of manage our classroom. So one thing that we can probably all relate to is the classroom management that we have to try our best, to implement, finding ways to motivate them, doing sticker charts, doing the activities we need to do. But a typical day can vary. You can show up and your classes may be canceled because of a field trip, or the students have lots of tests they may have to take, so you may have a canceled class. But usually you're going to be expected to do morning and after school classes, and you're going to deal with different things based on how the students may feel that day. You could have a class that goes really well, or you could have a class where you may need to switch it up because it may not go the way you planned, or it's just not working. So every class session can vary, but you just have to be open and ready for those surprises.